Or more likely, what's wrong with the WoT Matchmaker? And is it a case of that some of the recent changes to the tech tree have broken the Matchmaker? Why are you thinking that, Slimes? Well, I've got a hypothesis that I want to talk about, and I've got some games that I want to show you that kind of prove or relate to that hypothesis. I will apologise, by the way, I'm recording this video with really bad hay fever, so there may well be some snuffles and snorts. I will try to catch them in editing, but I might not get them. So, what's the hypothesis? Well, you know when you change one thing in a game, it breaks something else, doesn't it? Inadvertently. Software. I work in the software industry. We change part X, it breaks part Y, for no reason other than the fact that it can. It's what happens. People don't necessarily think about the overall consequences, the end-to-end consequences of changing part A, when part B doesn't really seem related. Stop waffling, Slimes. What is your hypothesis? Well, my hypothesis is this. The recent tech tree changes have removed a metric butt ton of tanks from here, from below tier 6. Oh, that's rubbish. Well, no, it's not rubbish. And the fact that these tanks have been changed and removed means that here, there's less tanks here to play with the tanks that are here, but there's more tanks here. Now, looking at that, it looks fairly balanced, doesn't it? But if you start looking at a Russian tech tree, all of a sudden when there's all of these lines, or the German tech tree where there's suddenly all of these lines, and suddenly the fact that you've got 6 tanks at tier 6 where you've only got 3 tanks at tier 4. Sorry, 7 tanks at tier 6. 3 tanks at tier 4 and 5 tanks at tier 5. And it's the same across the board with all the tech trees. The number of tanks at tier 3 is less, sorry, the number of tanks at tier 4 is less than the number of tanks at tier 6. Every single, well, apart from that one where it's the same because there is only one line, and that one where it's the same and it's only one line. But that one, well, it's 2 lines, so it can't really be changed. But the more modern tech trees aren't a problem here. It's these older ones. British, French, American, German, Russian, German. I've been playing a few games recently. Well, I've been trying to grind the battle pass recently, and the best way to do that and the best way to achieve that was to play my tier 6s, such as this one, the Firefly. And I was playing this last night, and I got to a point where I was so angry with the game that I rage quit. I literally rage quit. Why did I rage quit? Well, let me show you why I rage quit. It was this number of games. So you look at this, I played 32 games in total last night. And if we look quick at the summary, that was 11 wins and 63% losses. The win-loss ratio wasn't what was frustrating me about the game. It's this was, look. Look at that matchmaking spread. I was tier 6, I was bottom in 20 games. That's 63% of the time. And I was top 9.4% of the time. 3 games. Bottom tier 20 times, top tier 3. Same tier, i.e. all tier 6, only 7 games. And mid tier 2 games, which is like a 7 and 5. This is utterly ridiculous. You should never be bottom tier this much, ever. Ever, ever, ever. Now I'm trying to work out why it'd be like that. I mean, this was a game in this was one session on a Monday night.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
And I'm not sure if the fact that it's a Monday night had anything to do with it, because it was. I've been seeing similar things over the weekend, and I've been talking to people today and yesterday about it, and they've been saying exactly the same thing to me. The majority of the games they're getting are bottom tier, whether it be tier 7, tier 8. Well, no, tier 8. I'll give you. Tier 8 seems to be the odd one, because there are so many fucking tier 8 tanks in the game that they seem to just get the majority of their games to be tier 8 only. And I'm frustrated by it, because there is no way you should be playing 63% of your games bottom tier. No way. And yet, it happened. And the only thing that I can think of is that by taking those... There's been a massive influx of new players recently because of coronavirus, but by taking those lower tier tanks out of the game, by trimming the tech trees down, there are now less tanks at lower tiers for the tier 6s and tier 7s to be matched against. And because they're matched against these tanks, there's less of them to get. You're getting high, and the fact that they're still throwing tier 8 premiums at us. ISU 152k. There's another one. There's going to be the new Polish one coming out with the Polish line. They're throwing more and more premiums into tier 8. More and more people are playing premiums to grind credits. And this is the result. We've got a matchmaker where there's so many tier 8 tanks in the game that if you can get a tier 8 tank in your game, then the matchmaker's likely to give you one. So if you pick a tier 6, a tier 7, tier 8, maybe a tier 9, I don't know. But it seems like the tier 8 matchmaking isn't affected by this massive skew of bottom tier games. I mean, if I play tier 10, all I get is tier 10 and tier 9 games. I don't get masses of games where the tier 8s are all bottom tier. I just don't understand. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. So you can see from this, I'll explain slightly more on OBS what we've got, but you can see half the table is fully complete. There's a lot of red on there, and those red games are the ones that I was bottom tier. The orange or amber games are when I was mid tier, and the green games are when I was top tier. And obviously the amber also includes the same tier games as well. So there's 9 of those in total. You can see that some of the table is actually fully populated with data up until 17 games, and that was because at that's the 17 games I actually finished. I actually played another 15 games where I finished before the results were available, so there is no results data in the replay file, and I'd rage quit my session before I could get the actual proper battle results. I could have got it if I needed to, but unfortunately, so I couldn't fully populate some of the data, i.e. the win-loss ratios, but I knew from my overall session results that I'd won 11 games, I'd drawn 1, and I'd lost 20. So yeah, 32 in total. So it didn't give me enough data. So it did allow, looking at but what I did was then I went back through the replay and I could check. And two of the rows you can see there are RT and wheelies, and actually there's a second RT row at the bottom, but I'll explain what that's for later. But that's for another video that I'll be doing at some point, if you want me to. And the stuff at the bottom: 0 winners, 0 losers, and 0 heroes, or 0 total. 0 heroes. And basically that's trying to calculate the effect that players with 0 damage have on the game. And it's not just, by the way, the new players. It's not just the bottom tier tanks that are getting this 0 damage. It's top tier tanks. It's bad players with it. I mean, and it can be good players who just have a bad game. But it's looking at the impact of 0 damage on games. So there's a couple of things that you want to see. I want to show you. And I'm going to talk about these in different videos, but I'm just going to give you it. Look at those numbers for artillery. That doesn't look too bad, does it, overall? Is artillery ruining World of Tanks at the moment? Discussion for another video if you want me to talk about it. And finally, 0 damage. People who scored 0 damage, from there it looks like it's a factor of over 2 to 1 on the winning to losing team. Is that the case? Are the 0 heroes the real cause of why World of Tanks is dying? Are they what's wrong with World of Tanks? Bad players? I'll leave it to you. But you tell me, what are your experiences with Matchmaker at the moment? I'm going to actually flesh this out because this is a very, very small data set from one night. But I have got all my replays. And I can go back to that replay data. I'm going to write a script to analyse that replay data and actually throw this out across months and months and just see what happens. See how the Matchmaker, the high tier, top tier, bottom tier, win-loss ratio, or not even necessarily the win-loss ratio, but the amount of time you're playing top and bottom tier in tanks. And see how it goes. I'm going to try and build a database of all my data. I mean, I've got data going back till 0.9. And if you guys want me to, I'll make those scripts readily available so you can do it too. So tell me what you will think. Is that a good idea? Is that something you want me to do? What do you think are the worst things with a Matchmaker at the moment? Oh, not just the worst things with the Matchmaker, the worst things with the game at the moment. Is World of Tanks dying? Is the Matchmaker fucked again? Is it broken again? Have Wargaming inadvertently broken it by bringing in the tech tree changes that we, you know? Or am I just imagining it? What do you think? Please tell me. Okay guys, if you like the content of this video, please give me a thumbs up and hit the notifications button if you want to see more content like this. You can also find me on Facebook, Bang Average Tanker, and intermittently at the moment streaming on Twitch, and you can also find me on Twitter, usually raging about World of Tanks and how bad it is. Okay guys, thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you more next time.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
I rode a tank, held a general's rank, when the front lines rained and the teams just stank. Whoa! Pleased to meet ya. Don't you guess my name? Oh yeah. Oh, what's puzzling you is the nature of this game. Ha ha!